Amtrak, the biggest rail company in the United States, has many ways to get across the Northeast Corridor, but is somewhat difficult to travel with many modernization projects that interfere with expansions and bridges on the corridor. So how can the Gateway program manage to fix this? The right-of-way was originally developed by the Pennsylvania Railroad in conjunction with the 1910 opening of New York Penn Station, which required the construction of the Portal Bridge over the Hackensack River and North River tunnels under the Hudson Palisades and Hudson River. The following year, the Manhattan Transfer Station was opened in the Kearny Meadows to allow changes between steam and electric locomotives. This also provided for passenger transfers to and from its former main terminal at Exchange Place in Jersey City, or the Hudson and Manhattan Railroad, the forerunner of today's Port Authority Trans-Hudson. In 1968, the Pennsylvania Railroad merged with New York Central, but the new Penn Central announced bankruptcy on June 21, 1970. In 1976, its long-distance service was taken over by Amtrak, which had been founded in 1971. The Northeast Corridor is the only rail line that travels under the Hudson River and through New York City. The other rail system, crossing the Hudson, was developed by the Hudson and Manhattan Railroad, partially in conjunction with the Pennsylvania Railroad. There are 3 vehicular crossings of the lower Hudson River: the Holland Tunnel, the George Washington Bridge, and the Lincoln Tunnel. 6 tracks connect to Newark Penn Station and the adjacent dock bridge over the Passaic River. The station and the west span of the bridge, carrying 3 tracks, were built in 1935. The east span, opened in 1937, carries 1 outbound track, and the 2 Port Authority Trans-Hudson Rapid Transit tracks entering and leaving the station. The bridge, owned by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, underwent repairs as recently as 2009. To the northeast lies the PATH's Harrison Station. Between the bridge and the station, Amtrak and NJT trains are aligned on 3 center tracks to pass through it, with the PATH using side platforms. At the Sawtooth Bridges east of the former Manhattan Transfer, the rights-of-way of Amtrak and PATH and several NJT lanes meet and run parallel to each other. The single-track limited-use waterfront connection connects some lines using diesel trains on Hoppegan terminal trips, with the NEC to the west. Plans call for replacement of the bridges and expansion from 2 to 4 tracks, requiring the construction of bridges in the Kearny Meadows at Newark Turnpike and Bellevue Turnpike. The 1910 Portal Bridge, a 2-track, rail-only 961-foot swing bridge over the Hackensack River between Kearny and Secaucus, limits train speeds and crossings and requires frequent and costly maintenance. In December 2008, the Federal Railroad Administration approved a $1.34 billion project to replace the Portal Bridge with 2 new bridges, a 3-track bridge to the north and a 2-track bridge to the south. In 2009, New Jersey applied for funding from the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009, and on January 28, 2010, received $38.5 million for design. In April 2011, Amtrak applied for $570 million for construction from U.S. DOT. New Jersey was expected to contribute $150 million. Plans call for 2-track bridges, a Portal North Bridge and a Portal South Bridge. Opened on December 15, 2003, at a cost of $450 million, Secaucus Junction is an interchange station served by 9 of New Jersey Transit's rail lines, and is sited where Hoppegan terminal trains intersect with those traveling along the Northeast Corridor. In April 2012, Amtrak announced that the project might include a Bergen Loop connecting Main Line, Bergen County Line, Pascack Valley Line, and Port Jervis Line service to the NEC at Secaucus Junction. The Gateway program would build 2 new tunnels, doubling the rail capacity. The current North River tunnels allow a maximum of 24 one-way crossings per hour. The Gateway proposal would allow an additional 24 trains per hour. A flying junction is planned for later stages. This will allow Amtrak and New Jersey Transit to continue to use the East River tunnels and Sunnyside yards for staging, storage, and carrying Amtrak NEC trains. The Gateway Hudson River Tunnel, one point of which would travel from a point at Weehawken Cove under the Hudson River and its eastern portal south of West Side Yard in Manhattan. The air rights over the West Side Yard are being developed as a residential and commercial district on a platform constructed over the yard as part of the Hudson Yards project. Construction began on the first phase from 10th Avenue and 11th Avenue between 31st Street and 33rd Streets on September 23, 2013. The original Pennsylvania station in New York was completed in 1910 and later demolished starting in 1963. Penn Station is quoted to be as the busiest, most congested passenger transportation facility in North America on a daily basis, used by Amtrak, New Jersey Transit, and the Long Island Railroad, and served by several New York City subway lines. As I've mentioned throughout this video, there are many modernization projects to improve the Northeast Corridor and the existing infrastructure to make it a better and efficient way to travel. Amtrak will eventually complete this project and have all the new infrastructure they need to make their transportation a good way to travel on one of the busiest rail lines in the Northeast. This concludes today's episode of Amtrak Modernization Week. This episode is part of a bigger series of 4 other mini-docs. Click the video on the left to see yesterday's episode and the video on the right to see tomorrow's episode. If you're watching this when it's new, there's probably no video there, because tomorrow's video isn't out yet. So make sure you stay tuned for tomorrow's episode. Until then, thanks for watching.